Hi, I'm Kesenya and welcome to Guiding Star Astrology. I'm your Astro Weather Girl, here with this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm going to show you how the stars are going to affect your life this week. Well, hello everybody and welcome to this week's Astro Weather Report. I'm so excited to be sharing what's coming up in the week ahead astrologically with you. And this week we are looking at what is taking place in the astral skies from the 27th of August until the 3rd of September. So keep in mind, I say this every week as I do this, that this is a general reading for your personal life. So I'm not doing a mundane astrology reading which looks at countries and world events and that sort of thing. I'm doing a personal read, but it is a general read. If I was to do a specific read for you, a specific personal read, I would need to see your birth chart to compare the energies that are in the sky at the moment with your birth chart's energies. That's how we do astrology readings for people. So that's not what this is. It's a general read. So what I'm speaking about today will be more about what will affect you, how you feel, what you might encounter in the week ahead. A general reading. Now, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel and share this video. You can leave a comment in the comment section to tell me that you've done this. And if you do that, then you'll go into the competition to win a solar return report for September. So I want to announce the winner now of our August solar return report, and that goes to, drumroll, my computer randomly generated a winner, and it is from everyone who liked, shared, and subscribed, and it is Mellow Candle. So if you are Mellow Candle and you are watching this, congratulations. I can't wait to do your written report for you. Simply get in touch with me via the website, guidingstarAstrology.com. Go to the contacts page, send me a message, say, hi, I'm Mellow Candle, and we can start arranging for your report to be sent to you. Congratulations. If you want to win a solar return report, then go into the competition for September by liking, sharing, and subscribing to one of the videos that I will release for September. Exciting times. Nice to get a freebie, isn't it? Okay, so let's look at what's coming up this week. Firstly, well, really there's only one big energy this week, and that is Mercury making an opposition to Jupiter. So here is Mercury. Where is Mercury? Where have I popped Mercury? Well, here's Jupiter in Aries, so Mercury is coming up to Libra. And we have it at 6 degrees of Libra. This is taking place on the 2nd of September. So an opposition looks like this, when a planet is sitting opposite another planet, directly opposite at 6 degrees. So Jupiter's 6 degrees of Aries and Mercury 6 degrees of Libra. Well, a Jupiter-Mercury opposition by transit can bring blessing because Jupiter's the great benefic, but this is a double-edged sword kind of situation. So Jupiter opposite Mercury, it's going to expand our conversations, especially conversations on cultural, spiritual, philosophical kinds of topics, Jupiter-based topics. We can arouse more curiosity. Mercury is curiosity. Jupiter is expanding the Mercury side of who we are, our curiosity about things. We might even take a delightful trip. Mercury is short trips. Jupiter actually rules the signs to do with long travels and long distance travels. So when these two are interacting together, we can end up traveling. I will be doing exactly this, taking a short trip. So that could be locally. For some, it might be further afield. Some of us might be learning some fabulous new skills because Mercury is about utilizing our hands and it's developing skill sets and talents. So quite exciting when Jupiter expands that capacity. But remember I said this is the double-edged sword. Watch out for overextension. For example, maybe we have a somewhat of a dogmatic approach to our beliefs and our communications on this day. We don't want to listen to anyone else. Yes, we're in conversation with other people, but we're like, no, my beliefs, Jupiter, they're the only ones. And Jupiter's in Aries. We could get a little bit fighty about it, a little bit sort of feisty and worked up about our beliefs when we're discussing in conversation with somebody else. And that could lead to some tension and frustrations, obviously. Overthinking is a hallmark of this energy where our minds get really restless. Mercury rules our thinking processes and Jupiter is expanding our thinking processes, and we just can't get to sleep because our thoughts just won't switch off. So have some strategies in place if that is what you're prone to, and this day is going to exacerbate that. Our minds are so restless. Some of the other things, the ways this can express is that we are imagining that we can achieve more than what we're capable of doing realistically. So maybe we think we're going to fit more into this localized trip or this extended trip than we can actually physically fit in. And we end up going, well, I didn't achieve anything because I was going to do this, and this, and I just got frustrated. We think we can do more than we actually can when we have this dynamic. We can be not paying attention to facts. So we're too busy taking in the big picture, and we don't notice the small details, and we overlook the very important small details that need attention under this energy. So these are some of the manifestations of the shadow side of Jupiter opposite to Mercury. So the good thing is both are in quite good dignity. Jupiter does very well in fire signs and Mercury does well in air signs. So in that sense, both planets are quite strong, and hopefully we will see more of the positive unfolding with this energy than the negative. But that's about it. This week, we're looking at things really moving rather gently. And that's nice after the hectic August that we've had. I don't know about you guys, but I just found August was just so full of bringing up old karma, old attitudes, old residue in my life, and for me to explore it, for me to compost those things and move beyond it and sort of step into the higher realm. Or take one step further into the higher realm towards 5D rather than third dimensional living. It's not easy to do, and I'm certainly not there yet. But if you have struggled throughout August because things have been heavy, there's been all these issues coming up, the weight of the energy has just really brought you down, know it's going to shift. September is looking a lot lighter and brighter. Thank goodness. So that is a relief for a lot of people. But I do hope that even though we're moving into a sort of a lighter month ahead, it is my hope that you got something out of August, that you grew, that you learnt, that you understood people and your place in the world better, and also your desires and aspirations too, because it was a real purging time and a real self-assessment time. So I hope it was valuable to you. Let's move into September and have a bit of a breather. All right, without further ado, let's take a look at the all signs breakdown. And before we do, I should mention that my new moon video, the new moon occurring in Virgo, that is up on the Patreon page if you want to know how the new moon will be affecting your sign for the next 2 weeks. So check that one out. All right, so all signs for Jupiter opposite Mercury. Who are we going to start with? Let's start with Libra, because really the big focus is on Mercury, because Mercury is the faster moving planet. And I will point out Mercury is getting ready to do a bit of a retrograde song and dance in the sign of Libra as this month goes on as well. So he's in that retrograde field now. There's the sign that he's going to be retrograding in. So Mercury is going to be quite a pivotal focus for us in the coming month. So Libra, first house, Mercury opposite Jupiter in the 7th house. Well, you're going to be having a lot of conversations with your partners. This can be business partners, this can be marriage partners. You might find that a lot of issues come up now to be resolved. But you know what the key conversations are that you should be having? Conversations with yourself, because Mercury is in your sign. So this can look, I mean, I don't want you to walk down the street blabbering to yourself and you end up getting put in a straitjacket and carted away. Not that. We want you to take the time to self-introspect, to sort of, ask yourself the big questions of life. Am I happy in this dynamic? Is this job feeling good to me? How can I improve myself? How can I improve my life? In what ways do I want to do? We're having conversations with ourselves. We're not beating up on ourselves. We're not being critical of ourselves. We are simply chatting and getting to know ourselves better in many ways. So that might involve, and I would suggest doing so with this aspect, which is a mixed aspect. It's got blessing and curses. I would suggest journaling. Perhaps write yourself a letter to myself in 5 years' time, that kind of thing. And just spending time meditating or thinking, because our thinking process is going to be really churned up under this energy. Take time to think about your life and who you are. Are you the person that you want to be? Or when you step back and look at your life, are you like, hang on, how did I get here? This is not who I want to be. I'm grumpy all the time. I'm moody. How do I need to change this because I'm looking at myself and I'm not liking what I'm seeing. So it could look like that. So, or you might be patting yourself on the back and going, wow, I never imagined that I would get to this point or have this success or to have developed this career path, and look at me. So take time to have a chat to yourself, to reflect things back to yourself on how you're feeling. Be curious about yourself. Oftentimes we get so bogged down. I know as a parent, I get so bogged down in the doing that I have very little time to look at, well, what do I love at the moment? What brings me joy? What makes me laugh? And I've lost at times the curiosity about who I am. And so this is a week. This energy is occurring on the 2nd of September, but you'll probably be feeling into it before then. This is a week for observing yourself, being curious about yourself and trying to understand yourself more. Why not? Again, taking a short trip can happen, it'll just might be by yourself. It could be with a partner as well, but either way, it's going to be something that sort of feels somehow profound to you, or you discover some insights about yourself on this particular short trip that you might take. Be careful of the overthinking, be careful of the restless mind. And when I say be careful, I mean, look, where that is most harmful is when you just can't switch off at night. So it might be good to have a book by the bed, or maybe there's a lecturer on YouTube, a YouTube channel that you find so utterly boring that it sends you to sleep. Have that ready to go, And I've heard a lot of people say, comment about different readers and so on online recently saying, oh, I can't listen to them, they're just too boring. Well, they're going to come in useful this week, so sounds good. Okay, this is also the realm of survival and initiating new things. So you're going to be thinking of new ways to survive in the world, and thinking of how can I establish myself differently, renew myself. How can I put myself out there in a new way? How can I, make ends meet? But it's a bit entrepreneurial. It's a bit full of initiation. I'm going to take a new step. You're going to be planning these things. It's not so much an action-oriented energy. It's more of the thinking energy that you're in this week, Libra. So you'll be thinking about how can you take that next step forward. And that's a good idea. Plan, prepare, work out some strategies. All these things can be very, very helpful for your future. So Libra, this is what we're really seeing. And finally, because this is the house of the body, I would encourage you maybe to take a short trip that involves the use of your body. Go for a bike ride, go for a walk, skateboard, places like how we get from here to there. It's very Mercury. And so you might be looking at roller skating, rollerblading, something that takes you from point A to point B as a form of exercise, jogging, that kind of stuff. So enjoy that momentum. Alrighty, so now on to our Scorpio rising, sun or moon people. The energy of Mercury in opposition to Jupiter is falling at 6 degrees, and on the 2nd of September, we're looking at this occurring. And this is falling mostly of influence on your 12th house because Mercury is the faster moving planet. Jupiter's kind of drilling down in his retrograde motion here in Aries as he retrogrades back and is preparing to go into Pisces towards the end of the year. Now, this can be a house that's a bit difficult to get a grasp on, the 12th house, a place where we can feel a little bit out of control. And so it might be that our mind is a little bit out of control under this influence. Mentally, our energies are running amok, So again, I mentioned this for Libran people, but same applies for you guys. I would encourage you, if you're overthinking maybe about your past ancestors or people who have passed away, or you're trying to connect with your spirit guides and just looking like wanting to connect with them either through like a tarot card reader or some sort of omens or intuition or something, and you're just like, please talk to me, I need a sign, and I'm looking for signs here, looking for signs there, and it just goes too far. Remember, overextension is a hallmark of Jupiter-Mercury opposition. Then have some strategies to pull yourself back, to ground yourself, to not let your mind run away with its thinking processes, particularly on those topics that I've just mentioned then. So that might mean, and I mentioned this to Librans as well, you might have a online YouTube reader who you find utterly boring, and so you put them on when you're trying to get to sleep at night, and you just let their drony, boring voice in the background lull you into, la la land. So that's one approach. There are many approaches, but have some strategies to lulling the mind, soothing the mind, calming the mind. Now, because your mind is going to be overactive, when you do sleep, you might be dreaming a lot. You might be getting a lot of divine messages in your sleep this week, particularly on the 2nd of September when this is most highly active. So messages from the divine, messages from your ancestors coming through in your dreams, that sort of thing, and them trying to speak to you in your dreams because the mind is so active. Okay, so you have a dream journal perhaps beside your bed so you can write down some of these messages if they come through really rather clear. The energy's been just off the charts lately, and certainly your dream life is just so important when the energies are raising, the vibration is raising, because that's the time when messages come through very, very clearly from the other side. So there could be some channelings that you're receiving, some intuitive feelings, some forebodings. I would pay attention to these, but don't get lost in the mental conversation about this. Oh, I saw that black cat cross the street now. Oh my God, I'm going to have a disaster and blah, blah, blah. Don't go into that sort of spinning cycle as Jupiter opposite Mercury might have you want to do in your head. Also, it's about believing that we can achieve more than reality allows. And so this is a house of loss. So do be careful. It's about expenses. So you might plonk some money down, I don't know, on maybe a social media manager or something like that, thinking that they're going to do all this amazing, wonderful stuff for you. And it's just not in their parameters of what they're offering. And you lose some money. I mean, you might get something in return for what you pay this person to do for you, for example, but it's, you had expectations up here and their offering was down here. And so there's an energy of, I think I've lost here because it wasn't what I expected. She didn't achieve as much as I expected. So that's what this energy is. It's expectations that are beyond reality. And that can lead to disappointment. And in the case of the 12th house, it can lead to loss. So just be aware of that. You might like to hold back on perhaps plonking your money down in a certain situation until this energy has sort of dissipated a bit and passed. But I will point out that these two are going to be within proximity for quite some time because Jupiter is sort of slowly retrograding here through Aries. And before very long, Mercury is going to go retrograde in Libra. So they will be sort of in that vicinity for quite a while. So just be aware. I mean, consciousness is your power here, Okay, look, maybe I negotiate a deal, or maybe I spell out with that social media manager or whoever it is, I'm expecting this. What exactly are you offering? Are you going to fulfill this expectation? And if the answer is no, then adjust the budget. And so there's not so much of a loss. Act with consciousness if you know that this is the energy of the time. Believing that we can achieve more than reality allows is the sort of the tripping point here that can lead to loss. Okay, what else about the 12th house? It's a highly sensitive house, and so you might be highly sensitized. As a Scorpio rising, you're probably like this anyway, but very sensitized to the feelings and the emotions of others and the words of others. Mercury might really trigger your sensitivities now. Okay, so a bit of like detachment wouldn't go astray under this energy. You know, okay, they're only words and I don't have to take it on board. Whatever they've said, they probably didn't mean. You know, have that bit of detachment rather than reactivity if you can manage it. It's also the house of secrets and hidden enemies. So for some Scorpio people, not all, but for some people, you might be having to deal with a hidden enemy who is writing something about you that is detrimental, who is gossiping, you know, Mercury is to talk, behind your back, or sharing information about you in some way that feels like an attack, and this could be going on behind your back. So that's for some Scorpios, not all, okay? And it is a house of prayer, I will point out as well. Privacy and seclusion, meditation and prayer. So that's your solution. That's your method for coping with this energy. Pray. Use your words, speak it out loud, write a letter to the divine, to the higher beings, just sharing, this is what I want for my life, or help me to achieve this, or thank you for providing me with this. Like, interact through prayer with divine energies, and that will channel for you the highest vibration of Mercury opposite Jupiter. All right, Scorpio, thank you so much. Sagittarius, rising sun or moon people. Well, the energy of Mercury in opposition to Jupiter is falling for you on the 11th house, 5th house axis. But the good news, well, it's all good news. This is a lovely axis, one of a blessed axis in the charts. Both of these are wealth houses. But the 11th house is really where the focus is going to be, because Jupiter's moving very slowly and Mercury is the faster moving, sort of more personalized planet. So with the personal planet in the 11th house of where we can be profitable and gainful, that's where the focus is going to be. We're going to be thinking a lot about how we can be profitable and gainful. What can we do in our lives that can bring us more success, more recognition, more accolades, more rewards? So in that sense, it can be good because it can help you strategize and plan for ways to move forward in life and to progress. Beautiful Sagittarius people. So that's where a lot of your thinking will be going. Also, connections and conversations with friends and large groups of people is on the cards this week. So that might be in the form of clubs or humanitarian organizations or political parties or something. You're having a lot of conversations with others. Maybe about politics, about science. You might be conversing with people about other 11th house matters like social, social systems and, biological systems and other, well, I mean, the 11th house has to do with systems. So, ecological systems, and you're having conversations about your beliefs, Jupiter, regarding those things. Now, remember in the introduction, I said that there can be a bit of animosity that can come up, a bit of dogma about what you believe, what you think regarding these things. So don't be surprised if your conversations with friends get a bit heated, a bit feisty because of this influence, okay? So being aware can help you sort of just step back, be objective, allow people to have the opinions that they've got, share yours with compassion and gentleness, and just step back and let them make choices the way they want to go. Can't force anything down anyone else's throat, even though Jupiter does in the shadow side rule dogma. So be forewarned and forearmed about that. So thinking about profit and gain, thinking about what you believe and sharing it in conversations with other people and large groups as well, political parties, organizations, clubs, and that sort of thing. This is also to do with the stock market and communal property. You might be thinking a lot about investing in the stock market and researching that. It's a good time for doing that. But I want to point out that this is an energy for believing that we can achieve more than what reality allows. So you might be thinking a lot about investing in the stock market in some way, or making some sort of, big long-term investments, and your expectations might not match up to what the reality is. So do your due diligence if you're going down this road. Speak to a financial advisor. If I put this much money into this, what's my likely outcome? And do a bit of research. Both of these planets can be quite good for research, actually. So make sure that you explore all avenues and you know really fully where you're at. But you will be thinking, I feel, a lot more this week, Sagittarius, about those sorts of things. And you might be, because Jupiter does tend towards this energy of, thinking like get rich quick schemes. And Mercury is a quick, fast energy. So how can I get profitable and gainful really quickly? What can I do? What steps can I take? There's going to sort of bring it to me like that, rather than the long term and having to process things over time, and gather money and wealth over time. So you will be thinking about, the get rich quick schemes. I would encourage you, don't fall for them, because remember that this is an energy of believing we can achieve more than reality allows. So get rich quick schemes may very well be, and usually are, not what we think they're going to be, and they don't give us the return that we expect we're going to get. Also, this is where we can miss fine details under this energy. So maybe a friend sort of that shares something with us or whatever, and we miss the nuance of what they're sharing and the true depth and the true emotion behind whatever it is that they're sharing, because we're so focused on a big picture scenario that we're not noticing the details, in this case with friendships and with conversations that we have with our friends. Okay, so pull yourself up, and what were they really saying there, and how can I be there for them? How can I support them with what they're going through? Just reading between the lines with regarding what they were actually sharing. You might be taking a short trip, or some of you, Sagittarian people, might be taking a short trip. It could even be a sort of a longer trip as well, like a more long-range trip, because Jupiter is involved, and Jupiter sort of rules the signs that have to do with faraway places. So some of you Sagittarius might be either taking a trip or contemplating taking a trip with a friend, with somebody, or going to visit a friend in a faraway place, or in a neighboring town or something, taking a trip with the purpose of connecting with a friendship. That's possibly what might be on the cards for many Sagittarian people. And if you're not actually doing that, you might be thinking about that and how can you implement that. Okay, networking functions very well under this energy. So it is a good time, even if you don't feel like it, even if you're like, I just want to stay home in bed, it is a good time for getting out of your comfort zone, forcing yourself to get out of bed and go to that social event to sort of mingle and, meet people, share your business card around and do that sort of those networking activities. I don't like doing that sort of thing myself at the best of times, but this is actually good energy. Make the most of doing that. And also, just to wrap up for Sagittarius, this is a house of dreams and desires, ambitions, wishes. And it's not so much that this is an energy of wishes coming true. It's more that you are in the right mental space for curiously exploring how you can make your dreams and wishes come true. And, very mental energy, very in the head energy. Don't be hesitant to taking a step. Like, this is Jupiter in Aries is about taking action towards what you're thinking about. The mental processes that you've been undertaking in your head about how can I make this dream come true? How can I bring this wish into reality? This longing, this idea that I've had. This is a good energy for taking action about it, I must say. So, you can combine the two, the mental and the action on this axis. All right, Sagittarius, thank you so much. And now for our Capricorn rising, sun or moon people. The energy of the opposition, let me just make sure that all sits straight. The opposition between Libra and Aries, and we've got Mercury in Libra, and we've got Jupiter in Aries making an opposition at 6 degrees on the 2nd of September. What can we expect? Well, this is on an angular axis, like the 10th house, 4th house axis, and so it is very significant. We're likely to feel this stronger, particularly if we have planets around 6 degrees of any of these points. You might be having some quite serious conversations and important conversations this week with people in positions of influence, people in authority. Whether that's a boss, whether it's a judge in court, whether it's a friend in the town that you live in who's sort of like the unofficial mayor of the town, somebody of influence that is important. You can have a very serious and profitable, let's call it, conversation with some of these people this week. We are also quite curious about such people too, looking at people in positions of authority. How did they get there? Why are they so, compelling? What charisma have they employed to get them into that particular position? We're curious about people in positions of power and authority in the world when we have this going on. So being a Capricorn person, you're probably quite inclined to sort of be attracted to positions of influence and leadership and power. And so you might be, investing your curiosity and research into what's made such and such a person so successful. So that could look like reading, Mercury, more biographies about successful people this week. You might go buy yourself a biography or something about some world leader or some successful sports person or whatever, because you're curious about what got them to that position of leadership and success under this particular influence. You might be taking a short trip with somebody of influence, maybe a father. Maybe you go and visit your father this week, or maybe you and your dad or a masculine, or it doesn't have to be masculine, actually it can be feminine, but sort of the more paternal influence in your life, or a paternal figure. Maybe you go visit them, maybe you go for a trip, maybe you go for a drive through the countryside, get a coffee at a small town, have some serious worthwhile chats along the way. Something like that could be unfolding for you as well. This is the house of our responsibilities and social obligations as well. And so for some Capricorn people, they might be overthinking some responsibilities that they've got in the world, some social obligations that they're dealing with, and their mind just won't stop. They crawl into bed at night and the mind's going crazy about, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. I'm trying to, set up my leadership role here. I want to get onto the board of that, and I want to be the secretary of this, and head's going bonkers. Okay. So have some strategies in place for calming the mind, and also get your I just find this really helps, particularly as we're looking at Mercury in Libra. Mercury is to write. I just encourage you to get your thoughts out onto some paper. It helps. It really does help to plan, to strategize. Your head will be going bonkers with these leadership and social obligation responsibilities. So maybe list, okay, if I do XYZ leadership position, if I take on this secretary position, then it will require me to do boop, 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 boop. And you just spell things out so that it's all there delineated for you. I'm super list maker. I'm like obsessively making lists all the time, and usually ticking off, okay, I've done this, I've done this, I've done this. And so it helps me keep my mind under control, and to sort of, I guess, just make life more manageable. So I encourage you to do that this week if your head is just going off the charts, okay? You'll be hungry for leadership and public approval and visibility opportunities this week. That will be the case. But you could use this energy to strategize. That planning element that I said could come in to help you say, well, I want to achieve this particular leadership position. So how do I get there? Well, maybe I need to take this short course to up my skills in a certain area, or maybe I need to read these certain books, 7 Habits of Highly Influential People or something like that, and develop a skill set, Mercury's skills, so that you can be in a greater position of leadership or something. So take action, Jupiter in Aries, towards the leadership skills and the leadership positions that you would like to achieve. Now, the one thing that I would say about this is that this Mercury opposite Jupiter does tend to have us believing that we can achieve more than the reality actually allows. Okay, let's say that maybe you're a mum, you've got 3 kids, and you're running your own business, and you think, I also want to be mayor of the city that I live in, so I'm going to do that too. And it's like, realistically, how much you're going to be able to give to all those roles and still fulfill them at a really quality level? Probably not, There is this, I can achieve and do more and be more than what you really are capable of. So what this energy is really calling us to do is maybe have a bit of a reality check. So if you have aspirations for certain leadership positions, maybe check in with some good friends. How do you think I'd go in this? Do you think I'm biting off more than I can chew? Mercury has to do with our friendships, and Libra is partnerships. So maybe you need to check in with a friend or with a partner about just give me some feedback on what you think my capabilities might be here. Am I overextending myself with this aspiration for this leadership position? Get some feedback, make up your own mind. I'm all for your independent thinking, but it would be helpful to get some insight from others, particularly people that you respect and admire and look up to, that could perhaps guide you and offer some counsel, so that you don't bite off more than you can chew and then end up a frazzled mess. Okay, so that would be my suggestions for my beautiful Capricorn rising, sun or moon friends. Now, Aquarius rising, sun or moon, the energy of this lovely interaction, even though it is an opposition, it can still be quite good because Jupiter can be very empowering no matter what aspect he's making. But Jupiter Mercury opposition in Aries, Libra, falling in your 9th house, 3rd house. So this is going to be quite an interesting one, Aquarius people, because this is the house of, we're looking at mostly the 9th house here. It's about the communication we have with the gods. And of course, Mercury, opposite Jupiter, is, expanded ability to communicate with the gods. So your prayer life, if you are a prayer, might be on fire this week. You might be seeing answers to your prayer just coming in left, right, and center. You pray for that parking spot when you go to the shopping center, and poof, there it is right at the front door. That sort of thing. Then you want, the person to get your coffee right at the coffee shop, and by some miracle, they actually get you the right coffee with the right milk, and, you've prayed, the answer comes, and I'm using really silly examples there, but this is the 9th house, communication with the gods. Prayer is heard, prayer answers come quickly. Wow, empowering. So do make the most of this opportunity to present your prayers and your requests to God or the divine or the energy of love, whatever you want to call it, the universe. Present your requests. The Bible tells us to do that, Present our request to God. How? Unless we tell our spirit guides, our angels, the universe, what it is that we want, they just sit there twiddling their thumbs going, hurry up and tell us what you want us to do, because once we hear that, we're going to get into action. This is the week for that, Aquarius, for presenting your requests to God. Conversations with the divine is what Mercury opposite Jupiter in the 9th house is really calling us to. Now, it's also a house of understanding, of having higher knowledge, and also purpose and mission in life is seen through the 9th house. What gives our life meaning? So your mind, because Mercury is the mind, is going to be racing about, okay, what is my purpose? What is my mission? Why am I here? Like these big philosophical thoughts about your life is what's going to be churning through your head. You also might be churning over some sort of knowledge or research, or like maybe you're doing a university course and you're just going over and over and over your thesis that you're writing or something a million times, and you're getting bogged down in the mental process of analyzing something. And I've got to say, Mercury in Libra, I love Libra because I'm a Libra moon, but in Libra, Librans can overthink. What if they're weighing things up? What if I did it this way? What if I do it that way? La, 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 la. And if you're looking at your thesis or an assignment or some exam or something that you've got to do, this is very 9th house, and your head gets restless and you're like, should I answer like this? Should I answer like that? Should I write my thesis like this, or should I take this approach? And your head's just spinning in these things. So be forewarned, forearmed that, this restless mind, this overthinking regarding knowledge, regarding high-level schooling and understanding, and also regarding why am I here, what's my purpose, what's my mission, can leave you feeling debilitated under this energy. So have some strategies. You know what? I'm not getting anywhere just sitting here spinning my wheels about how to write my thesis or trying to find meaning and purpose in life. I'm going to go take a walk in the park and take the dog, out to, throw the stick with my dog or something. I'm just going to give myself a mental break. You may need to actually do this, okay? To slow the mind down and step away, because the mental processes can be overwhelming, okay? So forewarned, forearmed, Aquarius, about that particular energy that can be somewhat challenging here. I would encourage you, because the 9th house has to do with expanding our understanding of life through adventure. Maybe take a short trip. Mercury is short trips. Jupiter is actually more long-range trips, so you could take either. But maybe take a short trip, and this is why I suggest just getting out of the house and giving yourself a mental break. Jump in the car with your dog and drive to the next town and explore, go for a walk in the next town. Like, give yourself some sort of, I was going to say adventure, but obviously going to some neighbouring town to walk your dog's not so much of an adventure, but it is broadening your horizons, getting out of your comfort zone, going beyond what you normally experience can really expand the mind and give yourself that mental break. So that would be my suggestion for all you beautiful Aquarian people. It's a house of big picture. big patterns in life. But this is an energy. Mercury opposite Jupiter can cause us to miss the fine details of life. And so, maybe, not that this is a house of contracts, but Libra does rule contracts. So you might be looking at a contract and you're so big picture focused at what's going to be the big outcome and looking off to the future and how this might work and daydreaming about, how it might all come together. And you'd miss that fine detail in that contract and it comes back to haunt you, okay? So if you're in some sort of contract signing situation, be very aware that you're going to be more inclined to be seeing the big picture than the fine detail, and get somebody else to check it for you. Get somebody else to sort of just go over things with a fine tooth comb so that you don't miss the important fine detail. And this particularly goes if you're in a court case as well. This is the house of sort of the Supreme Court, not so much your sort of low-level court disputes and what have you. This is like big deal stuff. So if you're in a court case and it's like the big high-level kind of thing, Supreme Court, High Court kind of stuff, make sure that you don't get so caught up in the big picture of what you're trying to achieve at court that you miss the fine details. And if you're a lawyer, Libra is lawyers in the Supreme Court, then again, don't miss those fine details that could pull you up and sort of drown your whole case, okay? This is a big picture energy and we miss those fine details. So if you need to sort of refer to someone else to sort of look through things and just verify things, then do so under this energy. It is a house of morals, ethics, and good deeds. But this is a house, and this is an aspect, and I mentioned this in the intro, an aspect that has to do with dogma and being so convinced of our beliefs, our morals are the right way and everybody else is wrong and I'm going to tell them so. This is the house of the zealot. Okay, be careful here because it's the quickest way to alienate people, to destroy friendships, to rub people the wrong way and really piss people off. So be very conscious of dogmatism, which is a shadow side of Jupiter and a shadow side of the 9th house, okay? Very aware of that because it could be quite potent under this energy, and it comes a week later and you're like, why did I say that? What was I thinking? Why couldn't I have just been a bit more gentle and gracious? Now I've stuffed up that friendship. So be forewarned, forearmed about that one. Okay, eureka moments are likely to occur under this energy as well, where we just get the epiphany that comes to us from the divine. So that can be very exciting and fulfilling when that occurs. And obviously it's going to come through your thought processes. So maybe take some time to go for that walk with your dog, because when you do, you'll get an epiphany. You'll get an eureka moment. I should write my thesis like this. And away you go, So take time out. This is a house of epiphanies. Ask the divine to intercede and give you the insights, the wisdom, the understanding you need to move forward. Find your purpose. Write that thesis, whatever the higher knowledge and insight looks like for you. So, there's many more things I can talk about with this particular aspect on this particular axis. It's quite a fascinating house, the 9th house, but I think we'll just leave it there. Thank you, beautiful Aquarian people. And Pisces rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of Mercury in opposition to your ruler, Jupiter, this week is falling on the 8th house, because Libra is your 8th house. 2nd house axis, and this is an axis of money, other people's money and your money, other people's money. So it's going to be an interesting one. You will be perhaps thinking a lot about money this week. Maybe Pisces, you might be thinking about an inheritance that you would like to receive either now or in the long-term future, and you're planning for this inheritance that is coming your way. Or you're thinking about some windfall that you would like to receive and how to make it happen and how to make it happen sooner so that you can do all these sorts of things, maybe to help you set up some sort of self-sufficiency. You can tell I'm a Pisces rising. That's what I talk about all the time. that self-sufficiency here with our ruler in the house of self-sufficiency opposite the mental, okay, how can I, make this happen? Maybe through some sort of advantage, some sort of 8th house opportunity and windfall financially. This is the house of money that we don't earn ourselves. other people's money. So that can be other people's money that looks in the form of a, like an inheritance or a gift from somebody else as well. It could look like something, it's not the house of Tatsloto wins or risks. That's the 5th house, but it is the house of the windfall of the 5th house. So the 5th house and the 8th house are both money houses, just to clarify this. One is about taking the risks and getting lucky, 5th house, and the other is the actual like money we didn't earn. So both have to do with that kind of scenario. Suddenly receiving money that you didn't earn, or it could be, I don't know. I've got some strange scenario in my head. I don't know why this is coming to me. But you you park the car in the supermarket one day, you forget to lock it, and you come back and there's a briefcase full of money on the front seat. Some mafia boss has thought your car was somebody else's, and they've left this bribe money or something on your front seat. And you're like, hey, it's my lucky day. And there's your windfall right there. Should you go hand it in to the police, or should you go spend up big? I mean, that's a moral question that's entirely up to you. But this is a stupid scenario, but it's what was coming to my head. So I don't know, maybe my guides were trying to, I don't know, speak something to me. Maybe someone's going to have that happen to them. I don't know. But this is a house of crime as well. And, crime often involves money that's illegally gained through means that are not above board, other people's money that comes to you in dodgy ways. Anyhow, other people's money. So back to my point, this is a very strong thinking aspect. So you might be thinking a lot about how to get money to help you create what your particular value system entails. Might be self-sufficiency, that's a 2nd house thing, might be to get closer to nature, might be to have more luxury items. These are 2nd house things. You'll be thinking about that. That's where your mind will go. And as you can tell from my conversation here entirely, you kind of go over the top because Mercury opposite Jupiter is just, there's no boundaries with your thinking and can get ridiculous. So Pisces people, don't be surprised if your mental processes go a bit off the deep end regarding money. Okay, pull it back in, Kesenya. Okay. This is a house also of secrets. So people could be, it's not a house of gossip, but there could be some secrets people are keeping from you. They're not communicating with you about it. Or you might have some secrets about other people, Mercury, and you're keeping those things to yourself. Or maybe you're communicating, Mercury, with a certain select few about a secret that you know. Maybe you're writing down about some sort of secret event or occurrence or some secret knowledge that you have in a journal or a diary this week. That can take place too. You might be taking a short trip this week in order to connect with some esoteric practices perhaps, or something mystical or something magical. That could be like a short trip, I don't know, to go to a crystal shop in a town nearby. That's what that might look like. You might be going to visit an apothecary. There's an apothecary just set up practice about an hour from where I live. I'm looking forward to going and exploring that myself. Those sorts of things. Anything mystical, magical, pagan, non-traditional in practice, esoteric. You might be thinking a lot more about those sorts of things, and you might be actually getting curious and taking action. Aries is to take action towards exploring those sorts of avenues a lot more than you may have done in the past, and maybe taking a short trip to go and do so. This is a house of fast changes, so you might be mentally jumping from one perspective to another quite significantly. Like this is in Libra, where we weigh things up, so you might be like looking at one thing one day and thinking this is the answer, and then the next day you flip to the other and which one is right, and this is going to be happening quite quickly because it's a very fast house, and Mercury is actually a fast planet as well. For some Pisces people, you might even be contemplating, and this is not for everybody, but for some Pisces people, you might be contemplating a divorce or a separation of some sort, and thinking a lot about that. The mental processes are going into that realm. And that's what you're thinking about. Also, with this aspect, it is an aspect for believing that we can achieve more than reality actually allows. So if you're thinking about a divorce, if you're thinking about separating from someone, you might be expecting more from that separation than the reality, like more in terms of a windfall, 8th house, more of a payout than might actually be the reality. So make sure you speak with a lawyer and get clear about those sorts of things. You might be expecting that your spouse will take things better than might actually be the reality. So I want to encourage you, I mean, Libra has to do with being a professional. I would encourage you to get professional advice if this is where your thinking process is going. Speak to the lawyer, speak to the financial advisor, speak to divorce, I don't know, is there such a thing as a divorce advisor? Somebody who can give you a strategy to dealing with a divorce in the best way possible so that it's not going to negatively impact your life in terms of finances, emotional health and well-being and so forth. So your thought process might be going there, but be aware that what you're thinking could be overextension, over belief that things are going to be one way and the reality is very different. So get some clarity from professionals around a divorce and that sort of thing. And even more so because with this combination of energies, we tend to see the big picture and we're looking at, this is what the long range view is going to be, and we miss those fine details. And this is especially true if you're signing a divorce contract or agreement or whatever they're called, or a financial agreement. You might miss the fine detail and it might come back to haunt you at a later date. So again, get a lawyer, Libra is lawyers, on the job to really go over these things with a fine tooth comb under this influence. All right, Pisces, what an adventurous week you have ahead of you with that energy. Aries rising, sun or moon people. Well, for you guys, this is falling on the 1st house, 7th house axis, the axis of relationship. And so a lot of this impact on the 2nd of September at 6 degrees of Aries and Libra, it's really between Jupiter and Mercury. It's going to be felt in your 7th house most of all. For a lot of Aries people, this indicates conversations with partners. And this was also the case for Libran people as well, that there might be conversations with partners too. But for the Libran people, it's conversations with partners about the self. I feel this is important to me, blah, blah, blah. For you Aries people, the conversations are going to be, how does my partner feel? What does my partner think? What's their perspective? And you might be required, Aries people, to do a lot more listening than might usually be the case for you in relationship. So we're going to be conversing with your partners on this. This can be marriage partners, it can be business partners, but it could be just somebody in the public, maybe a client, maybe a member of your audience. A lot of conversations with other people coming up now. You might be very curious about your clients. A lot of Aries people might be getting some, like say you're a YouTuber, you get onto some analytics program that you can explore to understand your clients more and the demographic of your clients and so on. Aries people, you might be doing a survey of your clients or your audience or your associates in the business with you, your partners or people that you contract to yourself. You might be wanting to understand. You might be very curious about how the relationship is going. Curiosity about relationships is very much a nature of this particular aspect. Looking for more equality and more balance, Libra, and harmony in the relationships can be a part of it. And maybe your method of achieving that is through this curiosity or is through conversations with other people. What else can we see? Well, look, Mercury opposite Jupiter can indicate a very restless mind. And so you're probably overthinking things regarding clients, partners, or your marriage. And, your head's just in a spin, Aries, about the relationship. And, do they love me? Don't they love me? How come they never tell me anymore? And, and your head just doesn't stop with the whole over-analysis of the partnership and the relationship that you're in. It could be realistic or it could be completely off the planet, So be aware of that. In fact, this is an energy, Mercury opposite Jupiter, of believing, of overextension. So believing that we can achieve more than the reality allows, maybe expecting more of your partner than they are actually physically able to give, or that they have time for. You know, you're looking at things without a clear perspective. This is Mercury Jupiter. How we think about the relationship goes to a level of overextension. So, you know, you might be expecting that your partner will take in the garbage, cook every meal this week, iron the kids' clothing, go to their 5-day-a-week job, and, you know, high pressure, whatever, and you're just going to take it easy and watch Netflix this week. And, you know, that is a completely unrealistic mental perspective about the dynamic and the balance of partnership, Aries. So, you know, you might have this expectation mentally of what the relationship will look like, but the reality is this. I just want to forewarn you about that particular danger of this aspect, okay? Try and get some perspective. Maybe converse with your partner about the designation of duties, the balance of roles in the relationship, and try and bring more equality back into the relationship where it's got out of balance. Libra is to create balance. And, you know, this is one of the challenges for anyone who's Aries rising, and Libra rising for that matter, is to get some equality in relationships. One's overgiving and the other is overtaking. And so finding balance between Aries and Libra relationship axis relationships is a constant. And it's part of in shamanic astrology, part of the journey of life for these people to understand themselves better by looking at the dynamic between themselves and others on a constant basis. Okay, so you're going to be thinking a lot about these things, conversing a lot about these things. I would encourage you maybe take a short trip with a partner. That could be a business partner. Maybe you go to a conference or something like that in nearby town or something like that. Can really sort of help clear the air with any relationship hiccups in terms of business. But in a marriage dynamic, it might be that you know, take something for the purposes of enjoyment together or learning together. Maybe you know, go to a nearby town, like in the town I live, it's an old gold mining town, and maybe you're like, you know what, let's just go do something completely out of the box. Let's go down the Central Deborah gold mine, which is like a gold mining museum kind of thing. It goes in underground down to the old gold mines from the 1850s that we have in our town here. And so you go and do that. You go and explore something different. You know, Jupiter loves to explore. Mercury's curious. Do that with a partner. Take a short trip. Take in something that's going to teach you and you know help you learn something new about your world. And it might actually sort of take the edge off some of the tension that might be otherwise there between your relationship. You know. There's an overthinking, restless mind, but you can mitigate it by not distraction, but focusing the energy into something a bit more beneficial. Mercury is curiosity with a partner and exploring. Jupiter, fantastic. So that's really what the message is for my beautiful Aries friends. It's also a house of trade, negotiations, mediations. So you might be having a lot of discussions this week about contracts and contract signing, you know, business deals. They might be very, very busy, I feel, this week with business deals and contracts as well, beautiful Aries friends. So keep that in mind. The energy is going to be really amped up. You may be thinking, you know, just mind is racing with all the business dealings that you've got underway at the moment, the sales, the negotiations, and it can send you into a spin. So just forewarned, Aries, have some strategies for easing the mind and sort of getting you out of that really busy spinning cycle with business and business affairs. Alrighty, Taurus rising, sun or moon people. The energy of this aspect between Jupiter and Mercury is falling for you in the 12th house, 6th house axis. But it's the 6th house that's really going to feel the momentum of this energy on the 2nd of September, especially if you have planets around 6 degrees. There's going to be a lot of conversation with work colleagues, a lot of important conversations. So pay attention to the conversations that you have with work colleagues and people in your place of employment, or if you're an employer, with your employees. You really want to develop a curiosity this week about how your employees are experiencing working for you. Be curious about that, listen to them, be open-minded and open-hearted to what they're going through, okay? So that's the nature of this energy in one capacity. If you are not an employer, and if you are, let's say you have visit nutritionists, or you have a diet coach, or you have a gym instructor or something, you might be having a lot of conversations about your health and well-being with some of these professionals. That are very important conversations. So make sure you listen to their advice this week, their wisdom that they're offering you. I feel that you're going to be more curious also, not only about your employees, but about your health and getting to the bottom of things about health circumstances as well. So good to have those conversations, good to explore all avenues and all topics. Be aware though, this energy is one of overextension. You might expect more from your dietitian than they're actually able to offer you. You might be thinking they'll be going to give me this diet, and they're going to give ready-made meals, and they're going to provide this and provide, and they're just like, no, I just give advice. I don't make up the meals. That's, you've got to go shopping, you've got to do all that yourself. And it's about having a certain expectation of sixth house people that doesn't match reality. Okay, so be aware of that and try and bring your expectations down to what is real, and negotiate, talk, converse with people so that you're both on the same plane. You both got the same goal in mind, or understanding about what's on offer here or what's being discussed here. Okay, we can miss the fine details with a Jupiter opposition to Mercury. We're so busy looking at the big picture that the fine details just get overlooked, and you're thinking one thing, your nutritionist said this, but really they meant something completely different. So do take the time to thoroughly converse and be, across all the fine details, so you don't miss anything that is actually quite important. You might be overthinking. Now, this is quite a difficult house for that anyway. You are thinking so much perhaps about your health, your well-being, about maybe not just health and well-being, but your financial situation. This is a house of poverty. And I'm not saying you're going to be poor, but you might be thinking, oh my God, I'm going to end up living in a caravan in my old age, I often go into that. Single mothers, don't have a great, let's say, a shining future for if you live in Australia, where the cost of living is just so exorbitant. And so you might be thinking a lot about those sorts of things, about poverty, about lack of advantage or discouragement. It's a real victim mentality house. So be forewarned, forearmed, beautiful Taurus friends. Your head spin might be going to that direction. I'm disadvantaged. I'm a victim. My health sucks. I'm going to be poor. I'm going to end up living in a caravan if I'm lucky, and just like down that rabbit hole. Okay, that mental rabbit hole of over worry, overthinking, etc. What can you do to deal with this? Well, you need some strategies in place, and it might be that you have a special friend that you can reach out to and talk to. It might be that you journal. It might be that you write a letter to yourself in 5 years' time. It might be that you plan and strategize how to do some sort of new offering in the world. This is the house of service. How can you serve? How can you fix? How can you heal? And maybe you need to reassess, okay, how am I working in the world so that I don't have to worry about my future, so that I don't have to worry about my health. Maybe I've been overstressed at work and I just, my nerves are raw, I'm filled with anxiety. All right, how do I change my everyday routine, sixth house, my work life, so that this is not the case? Use your mental energy with action, Aries, Jupiter in Aries, with action to make the changes that help. No, don't just get lost in your thoughts. Take action to make the changes to your everyday routine just work. So, you might be overstressed and it's affecting your health. So make some changes to that. Maybe you're really worried about, the state of your finances. Well, I read an article this morning that the amount of jobs in the food sector, hospitality, food growing, food what do they call it? Food chain, production to supermarkets to, hospitality and blah, blah, blah. That chain, the amount of jobs in that field currently in Australia is just bonkers, So maybe it's about, looking at something new, a service industry. Sixth house is how can I serve? Some sort of service industry, and it's farming as well, that can actually set me up for a better future. So I'm not living in a caravan, Maybe I move to a small rural town that, with big orange orchards or whatever, and I know I've got a job there and housing's cheaper and, I'm going to have a better life, So thinking about changing your daily routine, changing your work life, changing whatever it is that needs changing to make life work better for you and have a better future and better outcome, because this is an upachaya house, a house that gets better with age. Thinking about it, but also taking action. Not just getting lost in the mental bog, but doing the, like researching and stepping out. This is 12th house is research that little town with its orange orchards where you could be a picker or, whatever, work in the factories or whatever with the oranges. Just an example. That's going to help your life feel less pressured and more enjoyable and, whatever. Take the action, do the research. Don't just get lost in your head with worry and fear about the situation that you're in. And I would also point out, Taurus, this is a house of humility. Sometimes, we think, I've got to have this office job where I get to dress up in my stilettos and skirt and business outfit every day. Really? Sometimes, we're going to be better off and happier with our hands in the soil, wearing our jeans, being humble about what we do. And I don't know, maybe there's some people are watching this video now who maybe just needed a push in that direction. I don't know why I mentioned that otherwise, but it's a house of humility. It's a house of hard work. So what's wrong with that? Service, healing, practicality is sixth house. You might be thinking a lot more along those lines now and how to change your life so that it works better for you into the future. Upachaya, getting better with time through conscious effort and hard work, making your life work for you. Thank you, Taurus people. Sorry, I went off on a bit of a tangent there, but I hope that was helpful. Gemini rising, sun or moon people, the energy of the axis of Jupiter opposite Mercury at 6 degrees of Libra and Aries is falling for you on the 2nd of September between the 11th house and the 5th house. But it's the 5th house where you're going to feel this most profoundly. So you might be having a lot of conversations with your children this week. Maybe some serious conversations or sharing your beliefs, sharing your opinions, Jupiter opposite, with your children. Just try and avoid dogma. Being dogmatic with your children or trying to sort of, manipulate or influence your children's perspectives with your own. That's just one of the shadow sides of an opposition from Jupiter. But conversations, chatting, talking with children is definitely amped up under this energy this week. You also might be very curious about how your children are dealing with certain circumstances, what they're going through, how they're, finding life. And you just might have a lot more interest in what's going on in the lives of your children. That can be really good. Enjoy that. Whether they're children who are, little kids living at home with you, teenagers, or whether they're adults and grown up and got their own lives and you might be just, having more conversations and connections, ringing them up. How you going? What's happening in your life? Or going and visiting them. This is a house of this is an energy for short trips. And you might be taking a short trip in order to catch up with your children in some way under this influence as well. It's a house of joy and exhilaration. So my Gemini friends, you might have felt lackluster over the last few weeks or months. This is an energy that can get you thinking about, what makes me feel good? What tickles my funny bone? What gives me some excitement? What gives me some happiness? And you start to explore and get curious about what brings joy to me. And don't just think about it. This is a house of getting lost in the head. A sign, Libra, lost in the head. Aries is action. So you want to bring in the two, taking action, thinking, I used to love going out to concerts. I haven't been to a concert in 10 years. Maybe you need to take action and go and to that, I don't know, my daughter wants me to take her to see Tame Impala, which is fine by me. I love them. Maybe you need to go with your children to see some concert and get that joy and exhilaration of going to some wonderful entertainment again, or to there's an exhibition down that I want to go and see of Vincent van Gogh at Jeff Shed in Melbourne, and I'm like, right, that could be just the thing. I need to go take my children. I'm not Gemini, but I'm using this as an example. Take my children and we can enjoy this exhibition, because that would be fun for us all to do together. And you'll be curious about, okay, what can I do that can boost my joy and my happiness in life again? And you might even be curious about doing so with your children. But this is also the house of lovers. So for those of you who are not in a committed relationship, this is a boyfriend-girlfriend house, you might be having a lot of conversations with your lovers or lover. Maybe being curious about what your lover thinks about things, or maybe you've just started a new relationship. There's a new person in your life, and your curiosity is going to be really heightened. What do you think about certain issues in the world? What do you think about this artist that we're going to go and see, or this musician that we're going to go and hear? Like, I'm curious about what you think and, how you perceive the world. We're curious about our lovers. We're curious about our children under this energy. The one thing I do want to say is that in the shadow side, this is an energy for overthinking. Maybe we can't get our lover off our mind. You know what that's like. It's like obsessive, and it's like, oh, it's driving me crazy. From the moment I wake up and take my first breath, they're all I can think about. And this is an energy for that, getting lost in that love dynamic that can actually be debilitating. You can't concentrate on your work. You can't concentrate on other things because they're just constantly in your head. So that can be one of the dangers: overextension, overthinking about lovers, children, or hobbies. So, maybe your children's in a really happy state in life. Something's gone really well for them. Maybe they've got, what's it called when they get top of the class? We call it ducks in Australia. I don't know what it's called in other parts of the world. But anyhow, they've just done super, super well, and you just can't stop thinking about it. You can't stop telling everybody, oh, my children she got ducks of the high school or whatever, and everyone's just like, yeah, you've told us a million times. So we can't stop thinking, we can't stop talking about our children and what they're doing and their success or whatever, or their lack of success. Can go either way, of course. But there is this constant thinking, constant curiosity, constant talking about lovers or children or our hobbies. Maybe we have talked about this painting that we're working on, or this production that we're involved in, for so long that everyone's just like, yawn, we're so over it, okay? But this is an energy for just going to the nth degree, over the top with that sort of thing. Just so you know, forewarned, forearmed. Another thing I will mention with this energy, Jupiter opposite Mercury, is that we can believe that we can achieve more than reality actually allows. So let's say you are putting on a production, maybe you're involved in the local theatre group, or putting on a concert at school, or involved in some battle of the bands or something like that. And you're like, we're going to win. We're going to win. Or this production is going to be so fantastic. Nothing's going to go wrong. And, what you're thinking about the outcome of this production, or this boyfriend-girlfriend relationship, or something that your children are doing, is way up here, and the reality is here. I don't want you to sort of get disappointed by expectations being beyond the reality, okay? So, forewarned, forearmed, you might be sort of head in the clouds under this energy, as long as you can step back and say, look, I could be, putting too many eggs in this basket, or thinking more about this than what is the reality. I realize that, but hey, Anna Green Gables always says, I'd rather soar up on the wings of anticipation. It's as glorious as soaring through a sunset, and it almost pays for the thud at the end. I do concur with that thing. So the fifth house, being such a blessed house, overextension, overthinking, sort of, expectations up here is not quite so bad as some other houses where your expectations are up here and the reality is down here. So just know that, okay, you can go for it, dream big, think that the best is going to happen, but be a bit detached about it too, so that when reality kicks in, you're not left, like a puddle of disappointment. Okay? Okay, let me just think. What else is this house all about? It is about yeah, it's our ability to feel love and the things that we love. So once again, this is a heavily mental energy. You will be thinking a lot about the things that you love. You might even be traveling to experience the things that you love. Some of you Gemini people might be taking a trip. It could be a short trip, could be a long trip. Jupiter's involved. Jupiter is more long-range trips to connect with someone you love, to experience something that you love, and just to sort of get more love in your life. Just know that that can be one of the outcomes of this energy as well. Alrighty, so Cancer rising, Sun or Moon people. The energy of Jupiter in opposition to Mercury for you at 6 degrees of Aries and Libra is falling, get this right, on your, what is it falling on? The 10th house, 4th house axis. Of an angular axis is always very, very powerful. This is happening on the 2nd of September. So you are mostly going to be focusing, Cancer people, on the 4th house where this is going to manifest most for you. This is the house of our life foundation and our core strength, our emotional strength, most of all. So you're going to be, you might be a little bit stressed in your mind under this influence, a little bit anxious perhaps. Emotions could be a little bit riding high under this energy. Just know that that could be the case. Maybe have some sort of strategies in place for dealing with that. How can you calm the mind? How can you calm the emotions? Meditation might be good. Just being at home might feel nice, might feel comfortable for you. Spending time in the garden, getting your hands in the soil and weeding can really help ease a troubled mind or troubled emotions sometimes too when this aspect is in play. You might be overthinking a lot about family matters, family dynamics, relationships with parents or your mother or a maternal figure, relationships with children or immediate family can be very much at the forefront of your mind, and you're churning over conversations that you've had, or just thinking about family matters or a dynamic with a home. You might be pondering on, what are we going to do with the home? Should we stay where we are? Should we move somewhere else? And just thinking about domestic matters very much at the forefront of your mind under this influence, okay? Be aware that your head could be spinning in those realms, and it's good to have some strategies in place, like I said. This is also an energy for being very curious. So I can see a lot of Cancer people jumping on to like realestate.com and just checking out, what's the price of housing in Texas? Or why, if I was to move to Queensland, how could I save some money, And you might be thinking, okay, let's move, let's change, let's explore and be curious about other places and what their housing is like and what the, lifestyle is like in other parts of the world or other parts of the country. And you can be really getting curious and going into some deep exploration about that sort of thing. You could also be exploring your ancestry. Some of you Cancer people might be discovering new things about family that have gone on before you. Your ancestors. This is genetic ancestry, and thinking a lot about that, exploring that sort of thing, getting curious about your ancestors. But also, this is a very strong house for stability and security, for having a sense of belonging. And your mental processes might be going there, and you might be exploring within you some curiosity. How do I make my life more stable? How do I make my life more secure? How do I feel like I belong in the world again? Maybe for a while, Cancer, you have felt like you don't fit, like this world is crazy and what's my place in it, Everyone I encounter seems to be nuts, That's what I've been thinking lately. You could be in that mental space of, I just don't feel like I belong here anymore. And so you're curious about, how do I connect with the people that feel like family to me, that feel like community to me, that feel like belonging? And so you're exploring those things. It's a good energy for doing that. You might even take a short trip looking for that connection. Where's a town where I feel like I'm actually going to be with like-minded people, that people are on the same wavelength as I am. And you might be exploring that, looking for that kind of connection. just know this energy is also about over expectations, believing that we can achieve more than the reality really allows. So, you might believe, if I move to this town, then everybody, like, it's going to be like community, and everybody's going to be helping each other, and really supportive, and you have this idea in your head, expectation up here, but the reality of that lifestyle of living might be actually more down here. So you might like to, in your research of where you want to belong, or where home, property, real estate, you might want to do a bit of on the ground research, perhaps, going to a town, talking to people, exploring their opinions about where they live and what have you. It could be really worthwhile to do that, so that you can sort of balance your expectations and make them more realistic. Might be a good idea, if you're thinking along those lines of moving, to join like a commune or a group of people with like-minded, processes and thought processes. It might be worthwhile, doing some online research about people who've made that sea change or that tree change, and just getting some perspective as well. So you could be thinking a lot about selling real estate, moving, changing your domestic life in some way, because both Mercury is like Lord of mutable signs, which are all about change, and Libra is a cardinal sign. So it's about shifting the energy forward, having momentum forward. So you might be looking at making a change with home, thinking a lot about that, actually. Being curious about that, maybe taking a trip with that end in mind. I'm going to sell my land and I want to go and live here. So that can be something at the forefront of your mind as well. You might be contemplating running a business from home, looking at how that might work, because Mercury is business in the 4th house of home, opposite Jupiter, which is kind of expanding. Okay, well, how can I work from home and make that happen for me? How can I do what I want from my residence? That can come up as well. And it's certainly worth thinking about and planning about. And Libra is a sign of the scales. We're weighing up this or that balance, looking at, okay, which one is it going to be? Which one has the benefits, the pros and the cons? You'll be doing a lot of that this week regarding your domestic lifestyle, your family, your place of living, and how you feel that you belong in the world. And that's a good thing to do. Use this energy to your advantage in that way. Alrighty, Leo rising, sun or moon people. Well, the energy of Mercury opposite Jupiter, which is occurring at 6 degrees of Libra and Aries, is going to be falling on the 2nd of September in your 3rd house, 9th house axis. So it's mostly the 3rd house where this is going to be at play in your life. So you might be feeling really restless, I feel. At this time, you might be just wanting to get out of the town where you live or the city where you live and just have a break. Get out to the country, or go for a drive to another place, or maybe jump on a plane and go somewhere far away, because Jupiter is far away places in the 9th house. So it's a good thing to do. It kind of gives you some mental space, gives sort of breathing room for you to get some perspective on life. And this is a big picture perspective energy. Sometimes we lose our ability to handle the small details. So for some of you, there might be some issues with the flight, because you've got to have your passport, you've got to have all the vaccine status and all that sort of stuff. I haven't flown for a couple of years, so I can't remember. But there might be some sort of fine details that you need to provide, but you're actually focused on the big picture. I just want to get out of here and have some mental space and blah, blah, blah. So there could be some hiccups around that sort of thing for some Leo people. But generally speaking, if you can take a break, indulge that restless energy that comes with this, you will feel better for it. It's worth pursuing. This is also a house of friendships that feel like siblings. So, like my ex-husband, he feels like my brother, which is a good thing to be in a relationship like that with people. You might be having a lot of conversations with those sorts of friends, people who feel like, yeah, I feel like I've known them all my life, I feel like they're family. Lots of conversations with those sorts of people. You might even be curious about some of those people. Often, those sorts of friendships are the ones where we might not see one another for a year at a time, maybe a couple of years at a time, but when we get back together, it's like no time has passed. We just know each other. We know each other's backgrounds, families, lives. We're like family. So you might start to think, you know what, I just wonder what, my best friend from high school's doing these days. I haven't had chat with them for about 5 years. Maybe I'll give them a phone call or jump on a Zoom with them and connect. We're curious about what these types of friendships in our lives, what they're up to. And why not? This is a good energy for connecting with them. Okay, this is a house of small business as well, the third house. So just be careful that you might be overthinking some things about small business. I've got to start this social media page, and then this website I've got to do as well, and then I've got to hire this staff, and oh man, I really need to renovate that premises first, and your head is spinning, busy. It's a house of being ultra busy, Leo. So your head's just running with so many things and juggling so many things, really busy, lots of momentum, lots of restlessness. It's going to be hard to switch off for you Leo people, especially around the 2nd of September. It's going to be hard for you to relax. So it might be a good idea to have some strategies in place to do so. I wouldn't turn to the bottle just to help you tune out and tune down. Maybe have some other things in mind that might work for you. Some people, having a soak in the bath does wonders. Some people, it's like going for a walk, clears their head, clears the energy. Whatever it is that helps you sort of ground yourself, find your balance, have that up your sleeve as an option, because you could be just like going a bit bonkers with the busyness and juggling many things. So forewarned, forearmed about that one. You also, with a small business, might be, especially if you're launching a side hustle or a small business, you might have a belief that the results of this small business are going to look like this, but the reality is going to be more like this. Look, I'm a Leo, so I'll tell you what happens to me every time I launch a webinar or I launch anything. Basically, my head's like up here. It's going to be this, and it's going to be super successful and blah blah blah. And the reality is always less than. Always. And that can leave us crashing down sometimes, like, I put so much work in and it hasn't turned out like I thought it would. But if we can sort of be a bit more grounded about the reality, then we cope better. And this is an energy for overextension, thinking things are going to be better than the reality is likely to be. So try and get some detachment about what you're doing, some project, some small business offering, some side hustle, so that you're not, disappointed. Well, it could go this way, but it could also go that way. I'm prepared for any eventuality. Libra's like that. It's like looking at could be this, could be that, weighing it all up. As long as you're prepared for any eventuality, you'll cope better. So forewarned, forearmed about that. So that's mainly what's happening for my beautiful Leo friends. Watch that overthinking mind, watch those high expectations, and take a ship. Lucky I didn't say the other word that sounds like that. Take a trip that can help you sort of dispel that restless and busy energy. All right, and finally to our Virgo friends who have been so patient. Thank you, my dear Virgo rising sun or moon people. The energy of Jupiter opposite Mercury for you guys is falling on the 8th house, 2nd house axis. Particularly, it will be potent if you have any planets around 6 degrees. And this is occurring on the 2nd of September that this is happening. Well, this is the house of what we need to live in terms of food, shelter, clothing, housing, that sort of, all the things that support our body's journey through life. You're going to be thinking a lot more about those sorts of things. For Virgo people, some of you are going to be like, how do I make money that supports my lifestyle that I like? What maybe I need to get a second job, or maybe I need to, be a bit more willing to be humble about the job that that I'm eligible for, or something like that. That's going to help me to, get a roof over my head, or have some clothes, or some, enough food on the table, and provide for my needs. Some of you Virgo people will be thinking, how can I make my life more self-sufficient? How can I grow my own vegetables? How can I, gather my own water and produce my own electricity? This is going to be at the forefront for a lot of Virgo people. So lots of our thought processes will be directed to money, resources, the things like the values that we have, and how can we make those things happen for us. Don't get lost in your head, Virgo. I've got a girlfriend, she's Virgo rising. This is just her all over. She is so lost in her head, coming up with every possible scenario for why she can't manifest the money that she needs to survive in the world, that she's blocking her ability to move forward. Really, we need to combine a bit of this Aries second house go-getter energy, Jupiter there, with a bit of this, the mental planning. If we don't put action towards what we're thinking about, then we just spin our wheels like the like stuck in the mud, or the hamster on the spinning wheel, and we don't get anywhere. We've got to put action into things, and this is what this opposition is saying. You're lost in your head, and you need to bring in this action to make it work for you. So that could mean maybe being humble about the kind of jobs that are available to you, because this energy, Jupiter Mercury, is about overextension, thinking, what, I should be earning this amount of money, I should be living in this kind of house, and the reality is this, your skills level or your financial situation says this is the reality, not this. So it's about learning to be more humble, or maybe the word is realistic, bringing your expectations down to what reality says is happening. Now, look, I'm all for manifestation, dreaming big. And for some people with the right planetary combinations, I'm all for law of attraction. That doesn't work for everybody. For some people, it does. So, all for that. But I'm also all for keeping your feet on the ground, especially in these tough times that we're in. So, this might be, unfortunately for some Virgo people, it might be a bit of a wake-up call about the reality of the situations that we're all living in right now. So there can be overthinking about this, and as I said, there can be sort of a higher expectation that goes beyond what the reality says is the case. What else can I say about this? You might be having a lot of conversations with people about money. So, go and speak to the bank manager. See what you're, in terms of loans, what are you eligible for? You might be having a chat with somebody, because this is the house of the face, the teeth, the hair, the voice. You might be talking to a hairdresser about a new hairstyle. You might be talking to a dentist about, improving the look of your teeth or something like that. You might be having a chat to, some sort of dermatologist about the skin on your face. You might be conversing with people about second house things. You might be conversing with people about collecting something, storing something, which is second house things. You might be chatting with people about values. What do you value? What's important to you? How do you value yourself? Anything that we consider of value is seen from the second house. So conversations with people about what we value, what is valuable to us, what has meaning for us, is a second house type of conversation. You might be quite curious about certain valuable items even. Some of you might be thinking about, I'm curious about silver and gold. Should I be investing in that? So you might start to explore, how do I go about investing in silver and gold? How do I go about investing in a book collection or an art collection or something like that? And you start to do some, indulge your curiosity with collections, with money, with resources, and exploring those sorts of things. Good time for doing that, good energy for doing that. Just know that if you are looking at any kind of investing, it is so important that you look at the fine details. And you might need some sort of professional, Libra is the professional, to advise you about that. Maybe speaking to a financial advisor or a bank manager or somebody who is an expert in gold trading or something like that. Getting some perspective on the fine details, because Jupiter opposite Mercury, we're really focused on the big picture. You know, oh, well, look, if I invest in the gold and the silver, then, you know, should everything go bonkers in the world, then I'm going to have, you know, a tangible foundation to fall back on. So big picture. But you're missing the, okay, well, what does it require from me to get into that realm, you know, to purchase that, or, you know, sign those contracts to arrange that, or, you know, we're missing the small details because they're so focused on the big picture. So talking with professionals, getting some wisdom and advice might be a good idea. Regarding investments, anything to do with our resources that support our journey. So that's what I'm seeing as being of importance for you and a focal point for you coming up in the week ahead. Beautiful Libra rising sun or moon people. Well, my darling friends, thank you for joining me for this sojourn around the horoscope. It is a pleasure to do this for you every week. I get a lot out of it myself, and I look forward to sharing more of what's happening in the astral skies with you next week. I'll catch you then.